Hey guys, Victor here, coming at you again with another deck profile, and today's focus is going to be on, once again, the Yubel deck, which, if I'm being pretty honest, doesn't really have a lot going for it as of late. However, at the end of the month, Legacy of Destruction releases, and then, once that stuff comes out, then this deck just becomes like a really, surprisingly real threat. But until then, we just have to work with what we got. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the deck profile. Now, as always, we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup first, so as a result, we're going to be playing the one original Yubel. You really don't need more than one of this, but it's okay if you play it at two, because, sometimes something may happen and it will be banished face down, but for the most part, that's never going to happen, and if it's not banished face down, that means you're pretty much going to have access to it at all times, just because, your Spirit of Yubels, your Eternal Favorites, whatever, can literally get this card from pretty much anywhere, so, yeah, you can play more than one, but it's just overkill in my honest opinion. But to go with the one original Yubel, you also play the one Terror Incarnate. You kind of have to play this one, even though it is a break and I constantly draw it and dead draw into it, so I can't do anything with it. But that's just the price you pay when you play cards like this. Much like the original Yubel, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If it's attacked, your opponent gets burned for the attack of the attacking monster, except during the end phase, this card blows up every other monster in the field. So if you're in a really tight grind game and you're trying to waste your opponent's resources, this is pretty much a really effective card to do it with, just because, like I said, it literally blows up everything else and it can't be destroyed by battle, so it is somewhat of a pain. And even though we're not playing the ultimate nightmare, your opponent doesn't know that, so you can still mind game them into thinking that you're going to evolve into the third form, even if you don't play it, which is pretty cool. And it's definitely a situation where I've found myself in often enough, where people just refuse to get rid of this because they don't know what the ultimate nightmare does and they don't want to deal with it. So, but yeah, we don't play it. It's also another brick, and I'd rather just minimize those cards if I can, so that's why I only played this one. But if you want to, that's also perfectly fine. Then to go with these, you play the 3 Spirit of Yubels. Pretty much going to be your main starter. You destroy this card, it special summons the original Yubel from literally anywhere. As long as it's not banished face down. When this card is special summoned, you can either set or add to your hand any spell or trap from your deck that has Yubel in its card text. It also can't be destroyed by battle, and it's like a pseudo battle trap, kind of like Battle Fader. It doesn't end the turn, but you can special summon this card and then set or add, and then because it can't be destroyed by battle, if this card hits the field, your opponent's going to have a really, really difficult time actually outing this. And if for some reason they're able to destroy it, like I said, it floats into the original Yubel, and then if they destroy the original Yubel, it floats into Terror Incarnate. And yeah, it's just a really big pain to deal with for your opponent a lot of the time. And the main method that we use to summon this out, besides its own effect, is typically Samsara Lotus, or Samsara D Lotus, where you contribute this card and it becomes like a Lone Fire Blossom, where you just tribute it and then you special summon either your Spirit of Yubel or your regular Yubel. But let's be real, you're pretty much always going to summon out your Spirit of Yubel, just because it literally gets your entire engine going. And even if your hand's pretty weak, right, say you get hit by Droll or something, as long as this resolves, you honestly are sitting pretty fine, because you just go activate Samsara Lotus, special summon Spirit of Yubel's effect, set Eternal Favorite during the end phase, Samsara Lotus comes back, and you pretty much have a pseudo negate, because Samsara Lotus's other effect is to tribute this card, and then you can change the activated effect of a monster to destroy one Yubel. So if you're dealing with something like Snake Eyes, for example, or Snake Eye Ash, when they tribute for cost, you just activate your Samsara Lotus, and then its effect becomes destroy one Yubel, and then they pretty much miss out on summoning from the deck. And a lot of the times that can just straight up win the game. So yeah, this card really good. And that's it for the Yubel portion, but we still play a bunch of other monsters. I'm still a really big fan of Dimension Shifter, just because the way that the format is, it's pretty much just two decks, right? It's either you're playing against Fire or you're playing against Voiceless, and both of those decks really don't enjoy dealing with Dimension Shifter, and to an extent, we don't really like it either, because it cuts out some of our own cards. But for the most part, we can play around it, just because, like I said, we do play Eternal Favorite, which gets back our cards from the banish zone, so this card honestly isn't that big of a deal. And just being able to buy yourself one turn, especially for when you're going second, is pretty invaluable. And then to go with the Dimension Shifter, this is the only other, I guess, traditional hand trap that I play, being 3 Nibiru, the primal being. A lot of the times, people are gonna overextend, and so I wanted my hand traps to be super high impact. So for that reason, I'm only playing the Nibirus and the Dimension Shifters. You're not gonna see me playing Ash Blossom, Veiler, Droll, things of that nature, whether because I just don't think they're that effective, they help the opponent more often than not, or they just have like they conflict, I guess, right? Because if you have Dimension Shifter, for example, you can't activate Droll or Effect Veiler because it's a cost for them to go to grave, and then they're just dead cards in your hand, and we'd much rather just avoid that. So yeah, 3 Nibiru, 3 Shifter. And we still have a little bit of engine, even though it's not Yubel. So we play the 2 Dark Beckoning Beasts, spoiler. So we are playing like Opening of the Spirit Gates as well, just because they have a lot of really good synergy with each other. And then we're playing the 1 Unchained Solar Sharvara, just because the Unchained engine is surprisingly competent with Yubel. So yeah, with that, that's the monster lineup. And now we can finally move on to the spell and trap portion of the deck. Now that we've moved on to the spell and trap portion of the deck, we're going to start off with probably the most ignorant card in here, being 3 super polymerizations. Literally get any Yubel monster, does not matter if it's Spirit, Original, or Terror Incarnate, and you can super poly your opponent's entire board and then burn them. Even without those cards, these are still pretty good at breaking boards, if I'm being honest. It just does so much for the deck, and they're really good. And then to go with our 3 super polymerizations, we're playing a lot of consistency cards, being 3 Nightmare Pains. Even if you dead draw or open this, not dead draw, because this card is never a dead draw as long as you have a dark. If you open this, it's pretty much full combo most of the time because it adds any single card that has Yubel or that is Yubel or has Yubel like in its card text. So you can add like your Samsara Lotuses, you can add your spells and traps, you can even add Spirit of Yubel, right, if you really wanted to. And it helps so much with your consistency. And then it has like that added bonus effect too, where it forces your opponent's monsters to attack you, and then like it deals damage to them based on like the difference in the attack, or the damage. I guess it's technically worded that they would take the damage that you would take, but I mean, like this card is just really weird. But basically, your opponent's always going to take the attack of the monster that they have on the field, is I guess like a simple way to put it. And they're forced to do it just because of the way that Nightmare Pain is worded. But yeah, to go with that consistency, we're also playing 3 Pot of Prosperity. As of right now, we don't really need the extra deck for the most part. Like once you see what you're playing against, you just banish mainly like the extra super poly targets, because we're typically only going to be able to, or we're only going to be wanting to go into the Yubel fusion. But yeah, just being able to dig 6 cards deep and pretty much guarantee that you're going to be able to see something like a Samsara D Lotus or a Nightmare Pain can just sometimes straight up win you the game. And then to further boost our consistency, we're playing 3 Piri Reis map. And what this one does is you add a level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. You have your life points, whatever. And then if you don't normal summon that monster until like the end of the next turn, you can't use its effects in hand. So it's worthless if you're trying to add like an effect veiler, right? But we don't care about that, because what we will be adding is Samsara D Lotus, and that's pretty much going to be like our primary normal summon most of the time, just because, like I said, it gets you your full combo. You go tribute your Samsara Lotus, special summon Spirit of Yubel, you get Nightmare Pain, Destroy, Spirit of Yubel, add your Eternal Favorite or whatever else you may need to your hand. Spirit of Yubel's effect triggers, special summons Original Yubel, and then you just go from there. But yeah, with this triple Nightmare Pain and triple Prosperity, we should be able to get to our combo pretty much every single turn. It's just, you know, we try to have as much consistency as possible, which is why we play these cards. Then to go with that, we play a couple of 2-ofs, being the 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates to go with our 2 Dark Beckoning Beasts. You have to add a monster, so if you drew both of them, which, you know, may happen, you can't activate this, unfortunately, which is why you see some people playing 3 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast instead of 2, but it's honestly whatever. If you draw both, you're just unlucky. Simple as that. It also has like additional effects, right, where you can discard a card and then you can target 1/0/0 fiend monster in your graveyard to special summon it. So it's like another alternative method to bring out your Samsara D Lotuses or your Spirit of Yubels, or even just like regular Yubel if you're trying to go for game. And if you have a face-up level 10 monster, you can also just for some reason add continuous spells from your graveyard to your hand. So it's pretty much just providing you with like free discard fodder or getting back key resources like Nightmare Pains that may have been lightning stormed away or something. But yeah, card really solid. Then to go with that, we're going to be playing 2 Triple Tactics Talent. There's a lot of hand traps in the current format, whether you're going first or second. So this card's probably going to be live more often than not. So I just figured, might as well throw it in, you know. And then for the final spell card, we're playing the 1 Mature Chronicle. I love this card. I think it's so cool because it adds like another dimension to your grind game. As every time you special summon a monster that is Yubel or has like Yubel in its card text, it gains a counter. And then depending on the counter, or depending on the number of counters, you get like a variety of effects, right? You can add Super Poly to your hand. You can special summon Yubel from the graveyard. You can add back cards from your banish zone. The card just, it does a lot. And it's only going to get better once the new support comes out. And that's it for the spell trap, or for the spell lineup. And now let's just focus briefly on the traps, because we do play a couple. We're going to be playing 3 Infinite Impermanence. This is probably like the best to pair with cards like Dimension Shifter and Nibiru, just because it doesn't trigger talents. You can use it on your turn and your opponent's turn. If you're going first, you can just set it. It pretty much just does everything that you need it to do. So yeah, play 3 of that. And then we're also playing 2 Eternal Favorite. So since we're playing Dimension Shifter in the main deck, that means our cards are going to be banished a lot more frequently. So as a result, I opted to bump this up to 2, and it's fine, you know. It's not the worst card in the world because it gets you back your Yubels. It's another potential super polymerization as long as you control, like, or let me clarify on this. So if you control a face-up original Yubel, not Spirit of Yubel, not Terror Incarnate, not Ultimate Nightmare, it has to be the original Yubel. You can send this card to the graveyard, and then you can fusion summon using your Yubel monsters. So you don't have to use the original Yubel to like fuse with it, but it needs to be on there in order to activate this effect, which you know, a lot of people, myself included, just didn't know, and hopefully now you do. Now you know too. So yeah, play 2 Eternal Favorites, and then for the final trap, to finish it off, we're going with the 1 Abominable Chamber of the Unchained. Since we're playing the Unchained engine, I prefer this one over the pop, just because if you get hit by like super poly on your Soul of Rage or whatever, at least this one allows you to like bring it back and then potentially make like an SP Little Knight play or something. But yeah, that's it for the spell and trap lineup. 40 cards as always, and now we can finally move on to the extra deck portion of the video. The extra deck for this deck is honestly pretty standard. You're not really going to see too many variations for now. So it's basically just like a bunch of super poly targets with links. So as a result, you play the 1 Salamangreat Almiraj. This is pretty much to help you out for when you're able to open up with your opening of the Spirit Gates. But say, for example, your Dark Beckoning Beast gets like impermed or veilered or something. All you have to do is link that off, and then you have free fodder for your opening of the Spirit Gates to be able to be activated to, like, you know, you can either discard like a Samsara Lotus, or you can discard a Spirit of Yubel and then bring them back. And, you know, it's just a really solid card for that reason, but we don't really use it for anything outside of that. It's just literally just for protection from Veiler and Imperm. Then we have the Unchained links, being the 1 Unchained Soul Lord of Yama searches out your Sharvara. When a card you control is destroyed, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then you can special summon a Fiend monster. So every card in here is a Fiend pretty much, except for like Nibiru and Shifter, but we don't care. What you're typically going to be special summoning is either like your Unchained Soul of Rage, which we play at 1 also, or more than likely you're going to be bringing out like a Yubel monsters, whether it's like Spirit of Yubel, original Yubel, Samsara D Lotus, doesn't matter. You just bring out whatever is most relevant at the time. And then, as I said, we are playing the 1 Unchained Soul of Rage. Pretty good because it takes your opponent's monsters to link with them, and then the cards that you make, typically SP Little Knight, will in turn take away another card, and then when like this card is destroyed, it allows you to add a Fiend from your graveyard to your hand. So it's also like another way to add back Spirit of Yubel, which, you know, pretty good. Then just play some good link too. So you play the 1 IP Masquerena. Basically the exact same thing as Soul of Rage, except you use your own monsters. 1 Muckraker from the Underworld to bring back your Fiend monsters. Sure, it locks you into Fiends after you activate it, but it really doesn't matter because, like I said, pretty much every card that you want to bring back or make is a Fiend monster. And then for the final link, you play the 1 SP Little Knight, just because it's a good card, you know, whether you're making it off of IP or Soul of Rage, its impact is pretty much immediately felt every single time. That's it for the links. Then we just play 2 Exceed monsters, being the Superdreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Liebe, to go along with our Superdreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. So Gustav Max burns for 2k, and then you stack Juggernaut Liebe on top of it to attack for another 6k, just in case you run into one of those opponents that just thinks they're safe because they pass. Newsflash, you're not. It's very, very easy to OTK and deal 6 or 8,000 damage, even if your opponent decides to not commit any monsters to the field. So yeah, really, really good cards. And then, as I said earlier, the very last portion is the fusion monsters, which are pretty much all our super poly targets. So you play the 1 Mudragon of the Swamp, the 1 Predaplant Dragostapelia, the 1 Garura Wings of Resonant Life, the 1 Earth Golem Ad Ignister, the 1 Dragon Knight Draco Equeste, and lastly, the 2 Yubel the Living Defenders. And with that, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!